Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Willis, Wit, and Wisdom. My name is Eric Willis, and this is my dad.
I'm Bob Willis. Hi, folks.
And on today's episode, we want to talk about something that um, we've noticed happens with people. I mean, it happens in almost every sector of life, and that is comparison and comparing things to other people. But in context of loss, it's an interesting dynamic. So, Dad, I want to throw it to you to give us perspective on this comparison thing. What's that all about, and how can we help people through that?
Yeah, it does happen. And you're right, Eric. People compare every part of life. We compare our homes, our cars, our kids, our achievements. We compare jobs, we compare everything. But when it comes to grief, there is no room for comparison. What I've discovered is every loss in life is 100%. I've never met anyone grieving 101%, and I've never met anyone grieving 99%. Every loss is 100%. So whether we've lost a grandparent or a parent or a spouse or a child or a friend or a pet, every loss is 100% for that person. So if we start comparing losses, we're out of bounds on that because we cannot compare. There is no comparison. Their 100 is the same as my 100. That's the comparison we're into. It's not, I'll see that and raise you one. I found that many times in conversations, you might be wanting to talk about your loss, and someone will interrupt and say, "You think that's bad? I had two losses in the same week." And it's like, I'll see that and raise you one. In other words, they're not hearing what's going on. They're busy comparing. And so when we have that urge or that tendency to compare, we need to back off and just listen up, because we're letting that person talk about their 100% loss. And hopefully that person will let us talk about our 100% loss too, because every loss is 100%. But what really makes it feel like it's something worth comparing is what we call secondary losses.
Mm.
I see this especially with the loss of a child, because it's out of order, and we can feel cheated. Actually, we've lost everything that could have been and should have been and might have been in that relationship. That ended. So we can feel that, like, that is so heavy on us. Every time we see someone else's child getting married, we remember that didn't happen with our child. Every time we see someone else's child having children and from celebrating being grandparents, it hurts again, because we realize that can't happen with me. Or they talk about their job that their child has, and so many things. In fact, something as simple as inviting someone to go to a sporting event. That sounds really positive. But what if I had a child that I lost that will never be included in that? And I had those dreams. So those are the reminders that make it feel heavier, feels much more than 100%, because we get these secondary losses piled on top. And those are real losses. I do not mean to put in negative context at all, because they're real losses, but they need to be talked about and shared. You've probably, in your work, you've probably met people who deal with the secondary parts that kind of, I'll use the word, it might just kind of paralyze them in any kind of growth.
Yeah, yeah, and that's part of it for us as humans. We emote, we feel deeply, we
Mhm.
express those emotions, and when we're in the process of dealing with loss, um, especially around conflict, which is my area of that I engage.
Yep.
When conflict is involved, there's a heightened sense um, of emotion, whether it be anger, whether it be fear. Those are things that typically come out, um, and there's a real drive not to lose whatever power or control that I have in this moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so uh, it's in feeling like we're about to lose control that causes us to say things and do things that normally we wouldn't. And
Mhm.
I could equate that to a grieving process also, that we say things and do things that we normally wouldn't, because we're wanting some sense of normalcy again. And
Right.
we
Right.
can't have that anymore. And how do we come to terms with the fact that things are going to be different now?
Hmm.
And how do we keep our emotions in check? How do we keep our relationships healthy while we walk this grieving journey through loss?
Right. And I find that many times people are wanting to be heard. They want someone to hear my 110% or my 199%, whatever that load is. They want someone to hear that. And often our world and our society gets so busy that we don't hear those things.
Mm.
So we really have to intentionally be present with someone who's had a loss, intentionally be present with them to hear what they have to say and give that opportunity for them to talk about it. In fact, I've often said that the very best thing we can do when we approach someone or we're around someone who's had a loss is we try to find a private area as much as possible and look at them and ask, what happened? Pretty simple, 2 words, what happened? And then we can close our mouth and open our ears and let them talk about what happened. Every griever wants to be heard. They have a story to tell, but most of the time they do not have an opportunity because some people will feel like we're trying to compare things. No,
Absolutely.
no
And that's a
comparison.
great point, Dad. And what that does when you go to a person who's grieving and ask what happened, you are giving them permission to engage and to
Hmm.
unleash what they need to communicate. And so that's
Right.
great advice. There's a nuance there. I want to make sure that everyone understands is um, tell me what happened and what happened are two different concepts.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, tell me what happened is a demand
Yeah.
that you're not providing them permission to speak. You are
Hmm.
demanding that they speak. So
Right.
tell me what
Tell me.
happened is not appropriate.
Mhm.
Asking what happened gives them permission to speak.
Right. And if they, and it may not be a good time for them to speak, so we can leave it with, when you're ready to talk,
Yeah,
I'm here. I want to hear what happened. And
yeah,
because it needs to be the right time for that person. I believe that grievers need to talk, but most people do not have that opportunity. And it can be different for every person. So we'll leave it with, when you're ready, I'm ready also.
yeah. That's
Okay.
beautiful.
Because unless they have that person they can reach out to, they can feel helpless. And if you feel helpless, I think you do start comparing things and say, mine's worse than theirs. You
Yeah,
know,
and if you
yeah,
want to be a safe person for a griever or really anyone to talk to, stay away from the comparison game. When you sense
right.
that you want to tell your story, when
Hmm.
someone is sharing theirs, put a lid on it. Force
Right,
yourself not to speak, but just to be
right,
present in that moment.
right. And we have to realize that this isn't about me. I write that morning moments every morning on Facebook, and I try to be really cautious and not letting it be about me. In fact, I'm writing, and sometimes I start over because I'm using the word I too much. That it's not I, just need to start over. And something as simple as that reminds me, this isn't about me. Yes, I might share something personal just to give other people the freedom to share that, this is what it feels like to me. How does it feel for you?
Yeah,
And to give that person an opportunity to talk about things. I think that makes healthier grievers, because if we start comparing, we're building walls.
yeah.
And people realize, I can't tell this person because they feel like theirs is worse than mine.
So here's a little angst that some may be feeling is that they've been that person who has entered into a conversation and began comparing or saying, oh, that's nothing.
Yeah,
Here's my
yeah,
story. They would
yeah,
never say that, but that's how it came across.
right.
So they need to now go back to this individual and really confess and say, I
Yeah,
did not understand what I was talking about.
yeah. And
I
I'm
needed to
sorry.
be present. I am sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the right approach to go back to them, because and even having that conversation is going to build a relationship right there with heart to heart,
Mhm.
because we're saying, I was wrong when I kept bringing up my losses, because I I know you need to talk, I need to talk, but I want to give you the opportunity to tell me what happened. So that, I think that softens and tears down some walls and barriers, right?
Yeah. And
It's a
so
big
that,
step.
yeah, it is. It takes courage to do that.
Mhm.
So that would be my challenge to those who are listening, who need to step back into a conversation and apologize. Be courageous to
Yeah.
do that. Be humble, recognizing that we're all messed up, and so we all have the
Yeah,
opportunity to either build up or tear down every time we open
that's
our
right.
mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes we mess up. So
Yeah.
own
I
it.
only do it on days ending Y. I've
Yeah,
noticed I've kept a
you
record of
narrowed it
that.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only
You're
time I
getting
mess up
better.
are days ending Y.
Well, Dad, any last words of wisdom you want to share with our folks today?
Well, I would like to invite the people to follow me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Look for Bob Willis. It'll be this face. And you can follow me. Each morning I will do something called Morning Moments. It just takes about a minute to read, and trying to give something from real life, trying to give opportunity for people to share things. And what I found, Eric, is grievers help each other. And that actually is the area that is rewarding, is seeing how they help each other. And that's the key. That's the key. But yeah, they're welcome to do that. Friend me on Facebook, Bob Willis.
That's great. And you can find me at reclaimleadership.org on that website, and then on Facebook as well, where every Monday morning I'll put up a Monday, what is it? A Monday morning mindset reset.
It is a mindset reset. It's very good. It's very concise, and it say, wow, yeah, okay, I need to think about that. I've seen great responses on the Monday morning mindset reset.
Yeah, the mindset reset is just things that I'm processing and thinking through and been challenged with, that I thought, hey, why should I be the only one thinking about this stuff? Let me throw it out there to you as well. So
Yeah.
but we would love to also hear from you what questions that you have that we might be able to answer for you in terms of what's going on in life, loss, conflict.
Mhm.
And so we're just happy to be able to do this Willis Wit and Wisdom for you. It is a blessing to us, and we pray it's a ministry to you. So thanks for being with us, folks. Dad, it's great to see you. Love you.
You too, E. Love you, folks. Thank you.